My name is Sukethram Sivakumar. The purpose of the Community Bleeding Control Preparedness Program is to provide civilian bystanders with skills and basic tools to stop uncontrollable bleeding in emergency situations. Bleeding control kits are designed to assist civilian populations so that they may be able to stop uncontrolled bleeding. Supplemental bleeding control supplies will be made available to the public so that they may intervene and prevent death. The goal is to strategically place bleeding control kits in places where large groups of people gather. In the school setting, easy access will be important to civilian bystanders. Some suggested locations are the gym, cafeteria, auditorium, and the main office. Bleeding control kits contain materials needed to stop excessive bleeding in an emergency or a trauma. These materials include combat application tourniquet, emergency trauma dressing, compressed gauze, nitrile gloves, trauma shears, instruction card, and a permanent marker. Now, each of these tools will be used in a demonstration on how to control bleeding until emergency medical service arrives. Please note, this is a demonstration only and does not constitute official training.
The tourniquet should only be used when the bleeding cannot be stopped in any other way. An example would be if the limb is severed or close to being detached. First, loosen the tourniquet so that it can be placed around the limb. If the injury occurs on the arm, put the tourniquet next to the shoulder joint. If the injury occurs on a leg, put it closer to the hip. Next, wrap the tourniquet around the person's arm or leg. Once the tourniquet is on the person, pull the strap as hard as possible to secure it in place. Afterwards, wrap the strap all the way around. The patient will find this uncomfortable, and you'll have to reassure them that this is saving their life. At this point, turn the windlass about 2.5 to 3 times to ensure that the bleeding has stopped. Once the windlass is turned, place it back in the nook so that it is held securely. Lastly, pull the remaining Velcro through and close the strap. Using the given marker, write the time that the tourniquet was applied to the injured person. With lean children, they might not need a tourniquet, and you would only need to use trauma dressing.
If the bleeding is slow or there is an open gash, the trauma dressing may be used as opposed to the tourniquet. With the dressing, put the padding directly on the wound. Then, stretch the remainder and loop it around the wound. Keep repeating this until you have used up all the trauma dressing. This will be very painful for the injured person. Lastly, use the Velcro or any tape to hold the dressing in place. You do not need to write the time with a marker for the dressing. Once you apply the dressing, tourniquet, or any aid, do not take it off and wait for the paramedics to arrive.
With compressed gauze, you must pack the wound and place pressure on it by covering it. In places that can't be addressed by tourniquets such as the neck, torso, abdomen, or pelvis, gauze should be used. First, take the compressed gauze out of the package and stuff it into the person's wound like so. Keep doing this until the wound is thoroughly stuffed. Be sure to tell the person that it will be painful. After the wound is stuffed, either use the remainder for pressure or cut the rest for other injured persons. Compressed gauze will mostly be used in the torso, whereas trauma dressings would be used on limbs.
Trauma shears can be used to cut the clothing off the injured person, especially in or around the torso area. Using the shears, expose any area that might be injured in or around the neck, torso, abdomen, or pelvis. Although trauma shears do help in an emergency situation, if only one person is present, your first action is to apply the aid. If another person is present, have somebody cut and remove the clothing while the other person readies the tourniquet and applies the dressing.
When in an emergency situation, make sure to always use nitrile gloves. If not using gloves, you can risk infecting the wound or making the situation worse. After applying the tourniquet, emergency trauma dressing, or compressed gauze, make sure to call 911 and to not remove any of these items. Only doctors are allowed to remove these items. Also, if you begin to panic in this situation, Make sure to use this instruction card. The instruction card will show you how to apply any of these items and which fashion to do so. Thank you for watching this demonstration, and please make sure that you know all these steps so that you will be able to save a life in the future should the situation ever come.